Welcome back to Narrator's Cut. Today we're going to show you a 2021 drama, Western movie called Cry Macho. A one-time rodeo star and washed-up horse breeder, in 1978, accepts a job from an ex-boss to bring the man's little boy home and away from his drunken mom. Crossing rural Mexico on their back route to Texas, the unusual duo confronts an unexpectedly hard trip, during which the world-weary horseman may discover his own sense of redemption via teaching the lad what it means to be a decent man. Enjoy and keep on watching. Texas, 1979. Mike Milo, Clint Eastwood, is an old former rodeo star who has been forced to retire after an incident in which his horse has fallen on his leg and broken it. He is reprimanded by his employer, Howard Pope, for arriving late to work and failing to complete his tasks. Dwight Yoakam. Later on, Howard approaches Mike about employing him to fly to Mexico and bring him his 13-year-old son Rafael, or Raffo, back to the United States. Eduardo Minute. Mike accepts the position despite his reluctance. He travels and encounters Howard's ex-wife Lita, Fernanda Arrejola, as well as her goons Aurelio, Horacio Garcia Rojas, and Lucas, Antonio Garcia Rojas, and their children, Ivan Hernandez. As a result, Lita warns Mike that Raffo is a troublemaker who will most likely be found at an area where a cockfight is taking place. As it turns out, Mike comes upon Raffo during a cockfight where he enters his pet rooster Macho as a competitor. Raffo flees the scene as the cops arrive and break up the fight. In his conversation with the little kid, who believes he is one of his mother's lovers who has been brought to him by the latter, Mike recounts his work with Raffo's father, which piques the youngster's curiosity. Raffo is treated to a supper by Mike, who persuades him to accompany him on his trip to Texas. The two of them return to Lita's house so that Raffo may get his possessions. Lita overhears this and bursts out laughing, informing Mike that Raffo had abandoned him. Despite her best efforts, Mike refuses her invitation to come up to her room and charm him more. Lita is enraged and instructs Aurelio and Lucas to remove Mike from the house. After he has left, she instructs the two to follow him as well. Mike is on his way out of town when he is surprised by Macho leaping out of the backseat and charging at him from behind the wheel. He misses the road and has to stop quickly to avoid being hit by another vehicle. Raffo has stowed away with Mike, as Mike discovers when he peeks in the rear. Raffo grabs Mike's wallet and effectively compels him to let him accompany him back to Texas, despite the fact that Mike isn't having it. When the two of them get together for lunch, Raffo tries to drink tequila, but Mike refuses to allow him. When Mike attempts to contact Howard to inform him that he has Raffo, the youngster steals Mike's drink. The moment they are about to depart, Aurelio appears and makes an effort to take Raffo with him. After Mike hits Aurelio in the face, the latter attempts to enlist the help of the surrounding community by claiming that Mike is kidnapping his son. Raffo then turns the tables on Aurelio, accusing him of being an abuser and displaying the welts on his back as evidence of his accusation of abuse. The villagers then continue to beat up Aurelio as Mike and Raffo manage to flee the scene. Mike and Raffo momentarily pull over to the side of the road and converse, during which Raffo recalls how his mother would constantly have odd guys going in and out of their home, which he was forced to listen to as a child. A few moments later, their pickup is taken away by robbers. Stroll all the way into town where they buy new clothing, before coming upon an abandoned vehicle. In order to avoid being apprehended by police, the duo drives till they come upon a cafe managed by a lady called Marta, Natalia Traven. Raffo informs Marta of their predicament, and she offers to provide them with refuge. Raffo, on the other hand, resides in a building that has a sacred shrine, which makes him feel uneasy about attempting to sleep there. Mike informs Raffo about his recent loss of his wife and children in a vehicle accident, just before he retires for the night. As a result of their visit, Mike and Raffo get acquainted with Marta's family, and Mike demonstrates horseback riding techniques that Raffo may use in the rodeo. The next day, Mike speaks with Howard and discovers that his primary motivation for requesting Mike to get Raffo was to persuade Letty to give him half of the profits from investments that he made some time before. Raffo is devastated by this news, despite Howard's claims that he really wants to be with his son. Mike, on the other hand, hides this information from Raffo. Both Mike and Marta continue to spend time with Marta and her family, and Mike starts to feel a strong attraction to her. The next morning, Mike and Raffo are apprehended by the police who are hunting for them, and the two decide to abandon Marta and her family. Two cops follow them, forcing Mike to take cover for a short period of time. Raffo becomes enraged with Mike as he confesses to Raffo what Howard told him about the situation. The officers ultimately track them down and search the vehicle from the inside out for narcotics. They come up with nothing, so Raffo bribes one of them to tell them to leave them alone. Mike and Raffo continue their journey to the border, but they are discovered by Aurelio, who chases them off the road and into the woods. While he has them under his control with a revolver, he is shocked when Macho leaps out at him, which Mike uses to disarm and incapacitate him. Mike borrows Aurelio's automobile and completes the journey with Raffo to the border. After their separation, Raffo allows Mike to keep Macho before he departs for Howard's gang. Mike decides to remain in Mexico and returns to Marta's house, where he can be seen dancing with her in her bedroom. That's all there is to it. I hope you like the movie. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more recap movies like this. We'll see you soon. Take care.